Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everybody, wherever you are in the world. I understand there's a lot of people from everywhere. My name is Marlies Schippenberg. I'm the CEO of Curtin Hospitality. We're a mixed-use operator, the neighbor of the hybrid model. We operate service apartments, hotels, branded residences, serviced offices all over the world. And as you can imagine, I'm here to interview on what is the hybrid model. So let's just start with Harold. Harold, Director of Colliers. In one sentence, hybrid hospitality, what is that for you?
It's the answer of the hospitality industry on the big shifts in new ways of working we're experiencing now due to COVID.
Brilliant. Hans, co-founder of Zoku, where we are at the moment. Amazing concept. One sentence. Hybrid hospitality.
Hybrid hospitality is stacking different business models on 1 square meter in order to use resources far more efficiently and to reduce unused capacity.
Great. Dirk, CEO of Colliers, thank you very much for hosting us. Same question to you. One sentence only.
Well, it's going to become easy now because I just combined two of them. But it's an innovative mix between work, sleep, eat and meet, whereby underperforming square meters in hotels are optimized in revenues.
Right.
Wow, did I just say that?
Yes, good, huh? And there was a dot at the end, no commas. Very good. Hans, as we're here in Zoku, and we're talking about this hybrid hospitality model as if it was just invented. You started Zoku 2016, or you co-founded Zoku in 2016. What were you seeing already then? And if you were to describe Zoku, you know, with the edge that you can see now and the kind of future, what is that for you?
Well, actually at that time, people started to mix business and leisure already far more. Due to broadband penetration, it was possible to work from anywhere in the world and basically immerse yourself in a kind of a city. And what we wanted to achieve is to really create a hybrid where people could, as Dirk says, live, work, sleep, do basically everything. And I think the true edge of Zoku is that, in contradiction to 99.9% of the hotel rooms and studio apartments, where the bed is always the most dominant piece of furniture, the bed is tucked away in Zoku, and with us the kitchen table is paramount. And that gives us a truly competitive edge in this time, because we are able to use the loft as a hotel space, as a serviced apartment space, as a short-term office space, as a project office space, as even a private restaurant, and even a micro-event space.
But Harold, if you look at that for the office spaces, if there's more people like Hans now going to do hybrid model and really taking that much further, does that mean that the office space is going to be redundant?
No, not redundant. You will have a mixed build-up of offices, how they're going to use the office. In the past, every company just rented space for 5 days in a week, had a work week, 5 days in the office. You were obliged to come to the office. Hans is describing the shift that now you can go to the office. It's a choice you can make. There will be companies more traditional who are going to use the office in the future for like 4 days in a week, and 1 day you can work at home. And on the other side of the spectrum, there will be companies working 4 days from home and having 1 day where you connect with your team, build your community, come together more on an event basis to reconnect with your team, to collaborate, to work a bit, and to enjoy the team all together. And all those activities can better be done in a not office world than in a traditional office world. So there will be a big variation in how companies will use their office space in the future. In general, everybody will redefine their balance between home and the office world.
So if you take that to hotels, Dirk, and I think, you know, one of the things that has always been innovative about what you've always said is you've always seen trends and evolutions way before. What the shift that you can see at the moment in the office space, hybrid model, can you see those trends and shifts in the hotel world as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've in the last when Gen Z made its presence, and when experiences became necessary to be Instagrammable, we've already started a change. You've never seen more disruptors than in the last 10 years in the hotel industry. Meanwhile, you've seen, as an effect of those disruptors, you've seen consolidation taking place in the hotel industry, where Marriott used to be Marriott, and now Marriott has got like 34, 5, 6, lost count, different experience brands that they're offering on their palette. Now, during COVID, we see an acceleration, basically, of trends that have already started before COVID. So changes, I don't see them. Yeah. But yes, you see a hybrid hospitality concept coming up. We're just discussing that here. And I think that is something that will accelerate. I think we'll see more of those concepts. You yourself, with mixed-use concepts, you're growing even through the crisis. So the proof of the eating is in the pudding. I think more disruptors will come. I think Colliers announced that they're doing something. Yes, there's an opportunity to leverage meeting spaces. If we can't have meetings, then let's use that space in a different way. And I think that will accelerate in the years to come.
How do you see the future, Hans, when Dirk is saying Gen Z, from how I understand Zoco and what I've heard from you before is collaborations, different communities. How do you see that develop or accelerate even further than what you have at the moment?
Well, especially what you see with younger generations, they are far more into collaborating with each other. Now the role of the office starts to change. Why should you be behind your laptop for 8 hours if you can also do that from home? But at the same time, and that's also what Harold is mentioning, it's very important still for people to meet each other, to collaborate, but also to foster a company's culture. I mean, you cannot do that from home, I think. And hotels could really play a great role in that to facilitate that for people.
Harold, you deal with a lot of institutional investors, real estate owners, and I'm pretty sure when we did our sales pitch, if you like, once the soft parts come on the table, it's a nice conversation, but it scares people, correct? And we're looking at potentially the second wave hitting, people having to rethink, do they want to invest in their office buildings at the moment? Do they want to go to a hybrid model? Do you bring in hospitality to your office building? What would you recommend to the possibly more traditional developers and owners who have to pay a lot of money for a potential developing trend or not?
Well, the worst case you can do is just ignore it, that everything will stay the same. Yeah. There will be a lot more superficial changes now due to COVID, but the one that is here to stay is the redefinition of the balance between home and office work. Nobody will go back to the 5 days. A few companies, but in general, it will be redefined. So if you take that to the investors' world of the real estate world, there will be a shift in the amount that a company needs for their office space, but there will be need for more flexible space. So there's a chance for the co-working operators as well. And there's a chance for the hotel world. So work will be organized more flexible on different places, and that gives more opportunity. So to spread different formulas into your real estate portfolio, that would be wise to be solid for the future.
Dirk, do you feel that there's in that case an opportunity for either institutional investors to change or have a private equity or anything to excel, entrepreneurs to make a faster leap versus the big corporations? Or do you believe that big corporates will just combine, everybody will support it, and small changes will take place? How do you see this actually happening?
First of all, I think we must be careful. We're sitting here in the Netherlands where we are pretty much ahead in an innovative way already. Because if I have it correctly, in the Netherlands as a general, there's already 14% is working from home is taking place. If you take Germany or the UK, the more traditional and larger markets, it's only like 3%. So the step towards 20%, which Harold and his team and Hans also are expecting, or even in some cases even 30%, takes there's a huge step to be made. So I think institutional changes will take place more in larger countries like Germany and the UK than in the Netherlands. But at the same time, in the Netherlands, we will go a step further than that as well. Just look at what Hans is doing already. Look at the Hilton Hotel here is a good example, I think. If you compare the Marriott in Amsterdam and the Hilton in Amsterdam, it's a different world. The Hilton is already actually a very modern hotel, ahead of its time, where the Marriott is not. Institutional investors will look at more control over operations, therefore more flexibility in contracts will take place. But at the same time, the opportunity in the hotel space to optimize revenues from square meters, and you can use a hotel room twice instead of a hotel workplace only once per day. It therefore de-risks the investment. So I would think that institutional investors will come along. I think private equity will listen to what I just said and will have realized that already. So I also think that they will start being ahead of the curve and start investing in those kind of models.
Hans, I have a question. How do you see sustainability in all of this?
Well, first of all, I think it's interesting too, how do we perceive buildings? Because currently a lot of buildings, they have a single function. So for example, if you look to an office is 8,700 hours per year. There it's only used a little bit more than 2,200 hours if you deduct all evenings, nights and weekends. That means we build a lot of real estate with only a limited function.
Yeah.
From a sustainability point of view, it's far more interesting to combine different functions in the same building during the day, nights and the week. And so at the end of the day, you are just using resources far more efficient than we currently do. So there's a huge opportunity from sustainability, especially because 40% of the global waste is from real estate, and also 40% of the energy use is from real estate.
But how do you see supply and demand in that case? Because at the end of the day, you know, it's all about growth, correct? And what Hans is saying, I guess, is the wider word of the word sustainability, where it is about community, it is about reuse, it is about keeping everything together. Your business is pretty much to, you know, grow or support. How do you see supply and demand change or shift?
If you look at the demand side first, so the occupier himself, therefore this rebalancing work is very interesting because it reduces their footprint in the real estate world, and it reduces the commuting hours and kilometers that's made by their employees. So that are the two biggest drivers for office operating companies to reduce their carbon footprint. So from that perspective, they will embrace it. There's a challenge, of course, for the investors world, but we saw that already in the crisis of the financial crisis in 2008. They are capable to transform and to redefine the purpose of a building, and that will be far more accelerated now in the near future. And I think the shift that we see, and I think that's the key difference, what makes hybrid hospitality interesting from a revenue perspective and a profit perspective, is that we're making the shift from single use to multifunctional, that you combine it, functions in a building, that it has longer opening hours already. But now to combine it on the same square meter, that you switch function of the same square meter and not next to it, that means that you have a double earning business model as well. So it costs less square meters, so it's good for the environment, and it has a double business model on the same square meter.
What's your view on that?
No, obviously I agree, but there's a side note. If I look at the way the Colliers offices in the Netherlands function, which I think is a good example, we've recently shifted two of our main offices, the one in Rotterdam and Amsterdam, into a place where you actually want to go, you don't have to go there. The moment we gave people laptops and mobile phones, you have to manage on output. You can't demand people to come to the office. You don't want to do that either. So yes, the hospitality, the hybrid model works, but also the Colliers office, where I've got 110 seats there and I've got capacity for 65. We are oversubscribed every day because people want to come to that office because they want to be able to share, exchange ideas between all the business lines. So if you offer an experience-based office, people will come. So the traditional offices, and I think the traditional office gardens as we know them, that will be a challenge towards the future. Will we then lead, and now I'm switching my hotel hat to my real estate hat, do we need more or less office space towards the future. I don't think we need less office space. We just need to redefine how we use that space. And I think that is a trend that can be a separate discussion. But that's something that we need to see. It's not necessarily, Harold, and I don't know if you agree with me, but it's not necessarily that we say we're going to now work 20% from home, so that also means we need 20% less space. We just need to redefine that space and evolve in the way we use that space.
The people that are working from home, Hans, are you seeing, I guess my question is going to be twofold, that's the community that you're kind of building on, or people that are coming from, let's say, Dirk's office now on their days at home are working from you or with you? And second piece, how do you see technology integrate in this entire story here?
So what we currently see in Zoku, people use Zoku as their satellite offices.
Yeah.
They use it as their project office, but there are also a lot of self-employed professionals. They don't have an ideal place to work from home, or even people who are working for the big companies, they also don't have an ideal place from home, so they are going to use those kind of places. In any case, what we see here also around Zoku, there are a lot of people living here actually, and hotels have a great opportunity here to basically leverage on that, because they can actually become a kind of a social hub for their local community. Now, technology, especially in this era, is very much important to facilitate, for example, contactless technology, which is pretty important at the moment. At the same time, of course, you need technology to make things easier and more frictionless for people, so that's also what we invest. But on the opposite of technology is still the human interaction, which we feel is incredibly important in this era where people are more and more isolated. They work from home. There are a lot of people, they have single-person households. They get lonely. They miss their colleagues at the office. And then again, the entire idea of the office starts to change. So it becomes a kind of a hub for cooperation and collaboration, but it's the same thing that also hotels can tap into that, because they're fantastic venues for that.
Dirk, do you believe that loyalty in that sense will then change? Because, you know, when we talk about community, we talk about technology. You know, the good old times, you would just, you know, collect your points from, you know, if it's Bonvoy or Hilton Honors or whatever it is, and go and exchange those points, but you're not part of something as in such. And what Hans is describing, and also what Harold is describing in their individual areas or group areas, people are looking for that community, let's say, and it's not that you're going to say hi to everybody and introduce yourself with your own name. So how do you see those things develop?
Yeah, I think the loyalty principle will always be there. However, it will evolve to a more community-based, a more inclusion, a more involvement, experience-based model. And I mean, there's a hotel chain by the name of Selina Hotels that if you book a room there, you choose the experience. So, for instance, if you want to go diving or you want to go skiing, your search criteria is skiing, and it will only show the hotels where you can actually go skiing, but it's related to skiing. So if you want an experience, I mean, I could see that Hans could very much work together here with restaurants or with museums. You know, it's an experience. Someone who stays in Zoku arguably could be mostly interested in the Museum of Modern Art instead of the Rijksmuseum, which would more belong to a more traditional hotel or whatever. So I could see that those kind of collaborations that are cross sectors would become more like a loyalty standard. So a loyalty mergers, or if you like, between loyalty systems or new segments being added to loyalty will be in my view, the future.
So do you think that then in that case, in the office environment, people are starting to all of a sudden drive different revenue streams? Because, you know, when you listen to this and when I hear that some people can work from home, I understand that some people will build community areas, but you might still have square meters left over that you can repurpose or hybrid in this sense, like Hans described it into hotels, vice versa. Can you see this happen?
Yeah, a big challenge for a lot of corporations is that not every office day is the same.
Yeah.
So some days have a higher occupancy than other days.
Yeah.
And in the past, every company hired their office spaces on the peak. When we are able to balance that across the week, and you enable companies to hire on the average and offer a community space for the whole building to join together. So you have a collaboration space which you use with different companies. That's more flexible, more efficient, and as a whole, as a building, let's say as an owner, you rent the same square meters, but on a much more balanced process between daily use and peak use. That's a big challenge for the whole industry, because it's, for me as an owner, in the past I just rented out space, and now I rent out space and I have to offer a service model as well. So there is another lesson for the office world from the hotel world. The operator system will become more important for the office world as well.
So we started with the question on what is the hybrid model, correct? So I would like to finish on the hybrid model disruptor. You believe that's going to be a big merger between one of the big hotel operators and WeWork and Reaches? It's going to be a tech company meets an entrepreneur like Hans or like ourselves. Is this going to be somebody who just takes a space like Zoku and just plugs it in everywhere? Where do you see that the real disruption is going to happen?
In the question is already the answer. In my view, I think tech companies are going to play a major role because they have reach, they have scale, they've got money. I think office operators who understand, I could see a collaboration between an office operator and a hotel operator, not necessarily in the beginning with one of the major chains, but certainly with disruptors. But then again, the major chains today have a lot of funds as well. So they're somewhere in that space, tech, office, operators and hospitality concepts will arise, I'm convinced.
Hans, what's your view? Who's going to really disrupt?
I think it will be a combination. I think a niche player like I think yourselves or a Zoku combined with I think a big tech company, because at the same time it's a hotel model, hybrid model is a more complex model than an office model, for example. So you need to have some years of learnings. This is actually the moment to tap into that market, so you need speed as well. So it will be kind of a combination between partners who have a kind of a proven concept in this hybrid hospitality space, with people with the right network with regards to real estate funding and technology. I think that would be a kind of a combination that I could see.
Harold, who is it going to be?
I put my money on hospitality. I mean, it's hybrid hospitality, so hospitality is key. Hospitality is hard to learn. You have to live hospitality. And the key challenge is to offer it to a second target group, and not just people who stay there, but also people who work there.
So hospitality is going to take over the office real estate in the future?
It's a DNA question.
Yeah.
So it's a question of DNA. So that's an advantage for the hotel sector. And the second one, they have a livable or a viable business model already, and are adding a second one. They are earning their money from in the evening, and now they can earn a double shift in the morning as well, or during working hours. And that's hard for the traditional office world, because they have just 5 days, 5 working days to earn their money, especially the co-working spaces. It's hard to become hybrid from an office space operator viewpoint towards hotel world is best positioned.
Great. I think you just triggered Dirk's one last statement, so let's hear it.
Look at Colliers. It's a real estate company and is led by a hospitality man.
Good. Great. Thank you very much.